don't vote, how we gonna ask for something next time? If you ain't got no voting power, you talking about reparations. Ain't nobody finna give you no reparations and you don't vote.
Well, we know Steve Harvey and Ricky Smiley has been on the campaign trail for the Democratic Party and Kamala Harris. And for so many years, the black boule has always been the one selected to go in and try to steer the direction of the black community. These are the ones that are the musicians, the entertainers, the athletes. They have a lot of influence in the way that the black community thinks. These are your high-end bishops and pastors of the black community. Now, the Democratic Party historically doesn't have to do anything for you or give you anything. All they got to do is cater to the elite class of the black community, make sure they get their little crumbs off the table, and those groups will go in and basically shame and use all kinds of tactics to get the black community to vote Democrat. Now, I often say that the Republicans, for the most part, don't owe us anything because we haven't given any type of allegiance or no vote to the Republican Party. I always believe that neither party has historically been for us. But since 1965, we haven't rocked with the Republican Party at all. So the Republican Party really doesn't rely on our vote. But the Democratic Party, if you look at Democratic cities across America, they're burning on fire. And that's not because black folks are born with one less chromosome. It's because we've been blindly giving our allegiance to a party that doesn't have to do anything because they know they're going to get our vote regardless. Well, in light of what Steve Harvey and Ricky Smiley and other groups have been saying, Dr. Umar Johnson in Dr. Umar Johnson fashion, he took to social media to speak to Ricky Smiley and also Steve Harvey. And it went something like this.
Ricky Smiley and Steve Harvey. Ricky Smiley and Steve Harvey. Ricky Smiley and Steve Harvey, listen. If Uncle Steve Harvey and Uncle Ricky Smiley want to go hard for Kamala Harris, that is their business. If Ricky Smiley and Steve Harvey want to go hard for Kamala Harris, they have a right to do that. They have a right to do that. What they don't have a right to do is shame other Africans into voting for her. They cannot do that. They were wrong for that. You can't shame people into not voting for someone who has no record of doing nothing for them. Steve Harvey's logic didn't make any sense. He said if we don't vote, we won't get nothing. Well, you've been voting and you ain't got nothing. It's time to hold the vote until we get something. It's time to hold the vote until we get something. Ricky Smiley, I love my brother, but he was pretty emotional. He's talking about Supreme Court Justice Ketanji swearing in Vice President Harris. They both belong to black Greek fraternities. They'll get sworn in on Dr. King's Earth Day. That's all empty symbolism. We're done with that. That's all empty symbolism. We're done with that. That's all empty symbolism. We're done with that. You have to give us tangibles, not symbols, Brother Ricky Smiley. Tangibles, not symbols. One is an AKA, one is a Delta. What that got to do with miseducation? One is an AKA, one is a Delta. What that got to do with mass incarceration? One is an AKA, one is a Delta. What that got to do with gentrification and homelessness? That is nothing but empty symbolism. The member of one black sorority swearing in the member of another black sorority on the solar return of a brother ancestor, Dr. King, who belonged to a black male fraternity. That's all fine and well. But telling black people they should vote for the symbol, telling black people they should vote for the symbol is not going to serve us, Brother Ricky. We need substance, my brother.
And see, Kamala Harris is receiving a lot of backlash because a lot of people are saying that she's not black. Well, for me, that's not my argument. My argument is she's not foundational black American. She's not sympathetic to the plight of my grandparents and ancestors. I'm not dealing with whether she's not black or not or Indian. I'm not dealing with none of that. My grandmother, you watching your grandmother, all the ancestors that fought for us to get executive orders put on the books to protect us, federal books, civil rights bills passed. Her story is an immigration story. It's not the story of your grandmother's. So she's not a black American. Neither was Obama. It's nothing personal. But we need somebody that's a good representation of us, because my grandmother or your grandmother would have never went up there and said, I'm not going to do nothing just for black people or speak against reparations. That's not going to happen. So now with Steve Harvey, if you guys missed it, when he was interviewing Kamala Harris, he, right in front of everybody's face, said that he's not going to ask her for nothing, and we shouldn't be asking her for nothing. And he's going to give her some basically alley-oop questions, because these people are highly paid to come there to do that. Let's revisit that.
Stay on course, so just let me go off this paper for a minute. Before y'all start calling my radio show and DMing me, talking about why you ain't asked no hard-hitting questions, that ain't what this is. I'm throwing a lob. This is an alley-oop for a dunk, because this administration needs to get the word out of what they're actually doing and what they're actually accomplishing, so we can stop all this foolishness about what you're doing for black people. Can't nobody come out with no agenda and call it this for black people and expect to get in the White House. You got to play the game different. Y'all know what this is. So now this next question is another lob for her to dunk. Because they done a lot, man. But we see, I'm on this radio show and I'm hearing all these people talking about, I'm not voting if they not doing nothing for us. Listen to me. If you do not vote, the analytics will show. They know how many women vote, they know the age you are when you vote. If we don't vote, how we gonna ask for something next time? If you ain't got no voting power, you talking about reparations. Ain't nobody finna give you no reparations and you don't vote? Why you think they finna give us some money? No how, man. I hope they do. They owe us. I'll go down there. I'm sorry. I know I ain't coming back next year.
He tried to throw that little, they owe us, and all in comedic fashion and jokes, but it's not funny. And, you know, Kamala's sitting there laughing, but even Tariq Nasheed, he jumped in. On August 12th, you know, on Twitter, he left a comment where he said, hey, DNC, when you send your paid plantation flunkies to social media spaces to regurgitate your discrediting tactics against me and other influencers, can you tell them not to be so sloppy and obvious? At least have them reword things from their multiple accounts. And that's Tariq Nasheed. But Dr. Umar Johnson wasn't finished. You know, he doubled down and really came a little harder on Ricky Smiley and Steve Harvey for this. And it went like this.
Black vote ain't for sale no more. Black vote ain't for sale. We bartering on business. We standing on business. Bring us some tangibles or get out of my face. Ricky Smiley, I love you. But crying on the radio for Kamala Harris, my brother, that's an all-time low. Don't do that again, Ricky Smiley. Don't you get on your radio show and cry for Kamala. Don't you do that, my brother. If you want to cry for Kamala Harris, you do that in the privacy of your house. But if we're going to be honest, Steve Harvey and Ricky Smiley, and I love you both, no hate to my big brothers. But if we're going to be honest, Ricky Smiley and Steve Harvey, y'all only carried on because y'all got paid to carry on. Can we please be honest? Can we see? I want y'all to understand, overstand, and understand what King Kong is talking about. Y'all carried on because y'all got paid to carry on. Kamala Harris and the Democratic plantation is paying you celebrities, paying you to shame black people into voting. Y'all know we not going to get nothing out of that vote. Y'all know we not going to get nothing out of that vote. Y'all know we not going to get nothing out of the vote, but they being paid. Y'all being bought. They offered me 10K for an interview with Kamala Harris. I don't want your money, but we can definitely do the interview. They offered me 10K for an interview with Kamala Harris. Yes, we can do the interview. Keep your damn money. King Kong consciousness ain't for sale. I'm one of the real ones. Silverback Garvey Gorilla. I'm one of the real ones. Silverback Garvey Gorilla. Don't come to me with no propositions for money. I don't live for no money. I'm not one of these goofy rappers whose whole life is nothing but what you can buy and own. You dealing with real African DNA. This is real ancestral energy over here. I'm not no Ricky Smiley and Steve Harvey. You don't drop no check off and say, get the Negroes to the plantation on November the 4th. You don't drop no check off and say, get the Negroes to the plantation.
And see, Dr. Umar was alleging that they offered him $10,000 to come on an interview. But he said, I'll turn it down because I don't want your money. I'm not for sale. You know, basically what he was saying. But he went as far as to say that I'll do it for free. And the reason why he said that, because I know that he's not going to ask them lollipop softball questions. He's going to ask them questions that they might not be able to answer, or that they don't want to be put under the gun and under that type of pressure. He's probably asked questions like this.
And on the other side of the aisle, with our Asian American, South Asian American, occasionally black candidate Kamala Harris, she sat in the White House with President Biden for 4 years and watched him pass an anti-Asian hate bill. She watched him pass an anti-transgender hate bill. She watched him give billions of dollars to Ukraine and Afghanistan. She watched him purge and gentrify black people out of Chicago and New York, among other cities, because we now know that there are migrant crises growing in other cities. And she did nothing. And this is after she said on an interview that she can't do anything just for black people. Well, if you can't do anything just for black people, Vice President Harris, how was it possible? Excuse me, how is it possible for you guys to do something just for gays, just for Asians, just for Native Americans, just for migrants? Complete contradiction. And so for me, at this point right now, with 3 months to go until the November 5th election, Baba David, I don't have a reason to vote for either of them.
See, the DNC don't have a problem with meeting with Meg Thee Stallion, Steve Harvey, the Ricky Smileys. As Malcolm X said, all of these athletes, entertainers, comedians, all of these people, not these black educated class, the high-end black educated class that's going to ask, that really loves their people. They're not going to meet with those people. We've seen the playbook historically. We've seen the playbook play out. But again, a lot of our people are so brainwashed just to go along with the get along. They will attack people like me more because I'll sit back and just watch and don't say anything. And somebody say, well, who you voting for? And I say, well, I don't know. And they'll go, well, you don't know, so that means you voting for Trump. Like, they'll start attacking you because this is what they condition our people to do. But I asked the question, since 1970, how many black men have been killed in this country? Since 1970, how many black babies have been aborted in this country? Right? Since 1970, how many people died of overdoses of heroin or crack? All the things that we've been through in our communities and everything that we done seen. How many crack babies have been born? And you're going to tell me, and I'm not a supporter of Trump, but if Trump get in office, it's going to be the worst that black people ever endured or saw? You can't be serious. You got to be kidding me. So go tell that to the people in D.C. who are still reeling from all the way back from 1990 when it was the murder capital. New Orleans, Philadelphia, New York City, Los Angeles, California. We're being gentrified out of our communities. Everything is, listen, whatever Trump's going to do is not going to mean anything compared to what we've been through as a people. Just since 1970 to now. I'm not even counting the 60s and the 50s. 1970 until now. How many black lives have been lost? From homicide to drug addiction to abortion, crack addicted babies, gentrifying out of our communities. And most of this is happening under the Democratic Party. So miss me with that fear mongering. I'm not a supporter I don't agree with neither party, but I just want our people to start really thinking more about what it is that we need for our communities and ourselves, rather than just giving your vote because you just say you hate Trump. That's a tactic used by the DNC in order to get you afraid. When if everything that I just spoke about just now, when it comes to our community, if you ain't, you should have been afraid. But I'm gonna cut this video short here. Leave your comments in the comment section. Subscribe to Street Media TV. Hit that like button. And remember, I love y'all. Till the next time. Peace.